Welcome back. We turn now to South Africa news, where our first story is about Julius Malema. What has he done now?
He's on trial for assault, Sam.
Did he make good on that threat he made in Parliament?
Otherwise, I could throw this glass at you.
Oh no, Sam. This assault happened at Winnie Mandela's funeral.
Dustin, I'm sorry. I think you stopped the clip before we saw the actual assault.
Oh no, that's the entire assault, Sam.
That was it? Why is this newsworthy?
Because his lawyers are white, Sam.
How is that an issue? Isn't that a step in the right direction? I mean, that's equal opportunity hiring by an organization many perceive as being anti-white. What's the problem with that?
Well, now people are telling him he's anti-black, Sam.
Well, this guy just can't win, can he? I mean, if he hires black lawyers, people would say he's anti-white. And if he hires white lawyers, how could that possibly make him anti-black?
When we were losing cases with black lawyers, failing to submit the simplest thing like a one-page, and then we must use the same services, lose cases so that we can be projected as the most disorganized organization with no direction. To hell with all of you.
Oh, I see. Let's unpack the midterm budget speech by Finance Minister Tito Mbaweni.
Yes, Sam. Well, firstly, there's been a tax collection shortfall of over 300 billion rand.
What does this mean for South Africa?
So it means we're actually far more poorer than we thought we were.
Quite a frank assessment. What is the government going to do about this?
The government plans to cut government public sector employee wages by 307 billion rand.
But Ramaphosa has stated that he will hire 700,000 people. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't, Sam. Our debt to GDP ratio is approaching 95%, the highest ever.
This is creating a sovereign debt crisis. How is the government going to deal with this huge risk?
Our revised fiscal framework puts us on a course to stabilize the debt to GDP ratio at around 95% within the next 5 years. But I must emphasize that this means that going forward, the risk is on the upside.
Upside? Does he understand what upside means? The only thing that's upside is the level of debt. Does he realize that's almost 100% of GDP?
Very close to 100% of GDP.
But at least the government has finally refused to keep bailing out SEOs. I mean, it will be very satisfying to watch them finally draw the line with SAA.
Yes, Sam. Actually, the government's only going to give SAA a tiny 10.5 billion rand.
10.5 billion rand is allocated to SAA to implement its business rescue plan. Well, let me repeat. 10.5 billion rand is allocated to SAA to implement its business rescue plan.
Another bailout for SAA? They promised to stop doing that.
It's not a bailout, Sam. It's a business rescue to do upgrades so they can start a new airline.
SAA is starting a new airline? This just went from bailout to pimp my ride.
It's not a bailout, Sam.
I think the problem here is that they had said that they were never going to do another bailout. They've just done one. So for him to then pretend that it isn't by simply engaging in a game of semantics and playing around with the English doesn't take away from the fact that it's a bailout. The state has given 10.5 billion rand with zero prospect of ever getting any amount of it back. It is a bailout.
Any news on a plan for Eskom?
Yes, Sam. We can confirm they have a plan.
Honorable members, improving the supply of electricity is urgent. In line with this plan, there is progress in allowing municipalities to buy electricity from different sources. In addition, the way has been opened for the procurement of almost 12,000 megawatts of new electricity capacity to be provided by independent power producers.
Eskom have said themselves there are still high chances of continued load shedding. What does he have to say about that?
Turn to the Holy Book. The Gospel, according to John chapter 12, verse 35, quote, "You are going to have the light just a little longer. Walk while you have the light, before darkness overtakes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they're going."
The national taxi Lekgotla was concluded this week.
Yes, Sam, it was a great success. The industry will now be regulated and even pay taxes.
A much-needed breath of life.
The taxi industry will be regulated and formalized after a 3-day national taxi Lekgotla.
I think today, even if you can hear that I'm no more alive, I will be the happiest person in my grave.
More like a kiss of death. No one would realistically be happy once they're in their grave.
Unless their first name is Elliot.
Hello, Elliot. 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 Rise up. Yes. Come on. Come on. Hey. Hey. Walk with me. Somebody bring him food. Let him eat. He has been fasting since Friday.